Iran and the Delhi blast. The low intensity bomb blast that occurred close to the Israeli embassy on Abdul Kalam Road in New Delhi last day has raised serious questions on the security of sensitive areas. Investigations revealed that the explosive was planted in a flower pot on the median near Jindal House. Israeli ambassador to India, Ron Malika, said there were enough reasons to believe that it was a terrorist attack. The incident also coincided with the 29th anniversary of the bilateral relationship between India and Israel. A similar attack on the Israeli embassy in Delhi occurred in 2012. The Delhi police, in collaboration with the Israeli intelligence, are investigating to dig out details about the terrorists behind the crime. Two Iranians were being interrogated in this connection, and there are enough reasons to suspect involvement of Iran behind the attack. Israel had recently issued caution to the envoys abroad that they could be targeted by Iran. This followed the threats by Iran against Israel since the killing of a prominent Iranian nuclear scientist. Iran's clerical and military rulers had accused Israel of the murder. They have also sworn to give a calculated and decisive response to Israel. Israel's Counter-Terrorism Bureau has been alerting the embassies to guard against possible terror attacks. The Arabs' conflict with Israel since the United Nations approved the partition of Palestine into a Jewish and an Arab state. This kickstarted the political and military tensions over disputes between Israel and Arab countries surrounding the Jewish settlement called Israel. This resulted in a series of military conflicts between Israel and Arab nations. But while Israel has been steadily strengthening its bilateral relationship with the West and many Asian majors including India, Iran was expanding its influence in the Arab region. Though Israel has recently signed bilateral collaboration with UAE, close neighbors like Syria, Iraq and Lebanon, besides the birth rival Palestine, continues to lock horns with Israel. The military might of Israel has rubbed the shoulders of Iran in the wrong side after it targeted more than 200 Iran-backed targets in Syria in 2017-18. Iran also accused Israel of attacking an Iranian-flagged cargo tanker in the Red Sea. It's crystal clear that neither Iran nor Israel would seek a direct war, but a strategic breakdown in the diplomatic ties between the two rivals has been visible post the US pullout from the Iran nuclear deal. The US has been maintaining a friendly relationship with Israel and is committed to continue it. But the US has expressed its desire to return to the joint comprehensive plan of action with Iran. President Biden has made it clear to return to the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran. This would jeopardize the interests of Israel. Israel fears that US-Iran pact would help the Islamic State to legally become a nuclear state and eligible to acquire nuclear weapons. So, Israel is likely to intensify military action against the Iranian regime if Biden returns to the 2015 deal without renegotiating and redesigning the deal. For the Israeli rulers, any agreement on a nuclear deal should bring a permanent and complete halt to Iran's nuclear proliferation. The ball is in the US court now. However, attacks and counterattacks between two military powers would continue. The Delhi blast and the alike elsewhere are just pop-ups of the real action. Please subscribe the channel. Also, click the bell button to get the latest updates.